Salakia. Continue. He first suggested what Yahushua ought to do for himself. Next, he suggested what the Father ought to do for Yahushua. Now he suggests what Satan could do for Yahushua in exchange for what Yahushua could do for him. We are not told what very high mountain it was to which the devil took him. The significance, however, lies in the fact that his location gave a vast view of the earth, but the view extended far beyond what physical vision could perceive from any vantage point, no matter how high. But some supernatural accommodation, the devil By some supernatural accommodation, the devil showed Yahushua the glories of Egypt, its pyramids, temples, libraries, and vast treasures. He showed the power and splendor of Rome with its mighty empire spread over the known world. He showed great Athens, magnificent Corinth, and of course wondrous Jerusalem, the royal city of David, and more. All the kingdoms of the world in their glory. And best believe he showed them America. Because you got to think about it. I mean, he was showing him different kingdoms at their height. You know what I mean? You know, when the Romans was in the splendor, you know what I mean? Greece wasn't, you know what I'm saying? So he's showing them different time periods. So you don't think America's, especially with this shit that people think is so great, and these smart TVs and fucking, smartphones and all this shit. And, I was listening to somebody speak on that. They were saying how, like, this social media has really fucked up, like, a whole generation. You know what I mean? Like, people... I was watching this white guy. He's a comedian, but it wasn't a funny joke, but it was kind of funny because he said, he's a damn devil. He said up there and said some shit about. He made a joke about Messiah though. He said how if the Messiah when he said when he come back, obviously he wasn't a believer, but he said if the Messiah was to come back, people will miss him because they so busy looking at their fucking phones. You know what I mean? Like, and everybody's face is stuck in the phone. You know what I mean? Like, it's just deep. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I ain't gonna say I have not fallen a victim to it, but I mean, no, not to the extent some of these people. I've seen people driving, fucking texting. I've seen people. I mean, like, it's just ill. You know what I mean? Anyhow, continue. As Yahweh's own proclaimed King of Kings, as Yahweh own proclaimed King of Kings, Yahushua had a divine right to all kingdoms. It was to that right that Satan appealed in this last temptation. Why should you have to wait for what is already rightfully yours? He suggested to Yahushua. You deserve to have it now. Why do you submit as a servant when you could reign as a king? I am only offering you what the Father had already promised. Perhaps he reminded Yahushua that Yahweh had said to the Son, ask of me, and I will surely give the nations as thy inheritance, and the very ends of the earth as thy possession. Psalms 2 and 8. When Shantan was offering the world to Yahushua on his own corrupt terms, not Yahweh's, that which the Father promised to the Son because of his righteous obedience, Satan offered to the Son in exchange for his unrighteous disobedience. Yahweh, by Yeshem Yahushua's plan in testing the Son, was to prove the Son's worthiness to inherit and rule the world. Shantan's plan was to draw the Son away from that worthiness by enticing him to grab the kingdom the Father promised to give him. Instead of enduring the long, bitter, humiliating, and painful road to the cross and the even longer wait in heaven for Yahweh's time to be completed, Yahushua could rule the world now. Shantan always comes at us in that way. He suggests that the world of our business, the world of politics, the world of fame, or the world of whatever our heart desires can be ours. If only we can get what we want, we can feel our heart's desires can be ours. If only we can get what we want, we can feel our lust and our fantasies, we can be somebody. All we must do to get those things for the world is to go after them in the way of the world, which is Shantan's way. That in essence is what the tempter always promises. And when you take time to think about that, you know what I mean, like the ways of this world are death. I'm gonna try and find that.
Utility bills, mortgages, car payments. Those are a lot of things that can add up pretty fast.
My mom didn't have life insurance that cost all fell on me. And that's expensive. We're still paying for that.
Still paying for that.
Call 1-800-810-95.
For all that's in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of Yahweh abideth forever. So, like I said, the ways of this world are wicked. I mean, look at what the world is calling normal. I mean, you know what I mean? And you got so many people just like spiritually dead. You know what I mean? Like you got people that don't even get offended by some of this shit. You know what I mean? Like these homosexuals everywhere. You know what I mean? Like I was telling somebody about how they really literally trying to pass laws where it's okay for a pedophile to be up and around your kid. I mean. And it's so amazing, like how spiritually dead Most High got a lot of these people, because like I said, they, like they don't even see the transformation of the shit. You know what I mean? Like 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't, that'd be unheard of. You know what I mean? 10, 15 years ago, it'd be unheard of, all these faggots just having all these rights. Like, I'm from Cleveland, of course, and, like on the west side and the east side, of course. I mean, there's like a lot of cities, it's a ghetto everywhere, but our west is kind of like got more diverse, population, while the east is more so Jake. At the end of the day, I remember guys telling me about how like, because there's a lot of white or East Edomites over here, so they had a lot of little white fag clubs back in the day, and they used to beat them fags up. Though the Edomites be beating up the Edomites, and now it's just like. 15, 20 years ago, they was beating their ass. Now it's just like accepted. It's just it's ill. You know what I mean? Where was I at?
He's got an American girlfriend, Lindsay Randall. She's a med student at the hospital. She's on a plane back to New York.
She know he's missing?
Continue. That in essence is what the tempter always promises. He promised Eve that by eating the forbidden fruit she would not die, as Yahweh had warned. That's the spirit, because I was bringing that up. But that in fact she would become a god herself, and she bit on that philosophy. You know what I'm saying? And you got that to this day. You got motherfuckers. Like I was just in the library, and it was a dude. He was pulling out, checking out all these books on Gnosticism. You know what I'm saying? It's hidden secret, because Gnostics simply means hidden. You know what I'm saying? But, it's hidden knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, everybody think they're going to become a god. You know what I mean? And it says in Scripture that we are gods, but, you're going to die like men. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you a little G, and everybody ain't a little G. Only the Israelites. You know what I mean?
Very functional.
That's because that's who that Scripture was for. You know what I mean? When you go into Psalms, what's that, 82 and 6, ye are gods, but you shall die like men. And then I believe it was in John chapter 10, Yahweh, I think it's John 10 and 34, Yahweh actually quotes it. I'm not going to get it. But for Yahweh knows that in that day you eat from it, your eyes will be open and you will be like Yahweh. Genesis 3, 4, and 5. He tempts each of us in the same way. Why set your standards so high? What's the use? You can get what you want by cutting the corner here and shading the truth there. And that's the beautiful thing about this truth. You ain't gonna get no, what I mean, saying, like, I've heard different brothers say different things, but at the end of the day, most brothers in this truth, you getting vexed in some kind of way. You might have your woman, but it's a constant vexation. I knew a brother, he constantly was getting vexed through his automobile. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't gonna go into my, lot my situation, but the Most High just blessed me all the way around. You know what I'm saying? And brother saying that, and that should have been edifying for everybody, not only for myself, but for everybody. You know what I mean? Like, I was the lowliest one in the camp, and now I got everything I need, and that's what brothers are speaking on. You know what I mean? Yeah, he gonna have you suffer for a minute, but the suffering is to build up endurance and strengthen you. You know what I'm saying? Now tomorrow he could take all this away. You know what I'm saying? The market could crash, you know what I'm saying, everything, but you know what, I wouldn't even be upset, because before it hit and happened, he blessed me, you know what I'm saying, so, this is, at the end of the day, that's the thing. So what they saying about, people trying to shortcuts and cut corners. Yeah, in the world, but not in this truth. You can't. Salakia, continue. Um, he tempts each of us in the same way. Why set your standards so high? What's the use? You can get what you want by cutting corners here and shading the truth there. Why wait for a heavenly reward when you can have what you want now? And that's that Lester Crowley do what thou wilt, spirit. That's out here heavy. Um, when we set our hearts on money, prestige, popularity, power, or selfish happiness, we are doing exactly what Shantan wanted Yahweh to do. Put self first and Yahweh last. Self-will is Satan's will and is therefore by definition the opposition. So like the opposite of Yahweh's will, which is for us to seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, which is Matthew 6:33. Abraham sought what Yahweh promised in his own self-styled act with Hagar, and tragedy resulted. It always does. Shantan is a counterfeiter. He offers what seems to be the same as what Yahweh offers, and his price is much cheaper. Yahweh wants you to prosper, doesn't he? Shantan asks, well, I'll give you prosperity a lot sooner and for a lot less. Just turn your head a little at questionable practices. Give in when it's advantageous. Don't be a prude. Follow the crowd. That's the way to success. The basic argument is always a form of the idea that the end justifies the means. But Shantan is also the father of lies. What he really demanded in the wilderness was Yahweh's own soul. All these things I will give you if you fall down and worship me. If you fall down and worship me, Shantan had rebelled against Yahweh in the first place because he could not tolerate being second to the Trinity. Now that's bullshit. Like I said, when you read the book of Job, like I said, it clearly shows you that Satan was basically, Most High and Satan made a bet. But, it says in scripture in the book of Job that when the sons of Yahweh came and presented themselves before him, Satan was amongst them. And like I say, when you read the book of Kings, when it talks about that spirit that was put on Ahab to be that deceiving spirit through the mouth of his prophets, it was a vision of the host of heaven, and there was angels on his left hand and angels on his right. So you got the angels that's on the left hand, which are the wicked angels, with Shantan or Satan being the chief, and then you got Yahweh and the righteous angels. So, it's an order to this. And that's what, Esau doesn't want to tell you. Like I said, I often mention this movie. I thought it came out way earlier than this, but it came out in like 90, but it's called Defending Your Life. And it's the one movie that show how, like I said, like they basically was reincarnating. And you have to watch it. It have Meryl Streep in it. And they go off on certain things, but as far as, like I said, like a realistic depiction, kind of like how more realistic, kind of like how what's that movie, Unbreakable. That's more realistic superhero movie. I can't wait to see. I like to Split. I can't wait to see Mr. Glass. You know what I mean? I don't mean to digress. Go off topic. Continuing. All these things I will give you if you fall down and worship me. Satan. Oh yeah, here he thought, because it was talking about, he thought he was his Trinity, and I just debunked that. Here he thought was his great opportunity. He would bribe the Son to worship at his feet. Satan, where Satan price is always immeasurably more than he leads us to believe. I'm gonna stop there.